Let's Start Cooking. I'm Wayne, and today, sticking with the slow cooker recipes that we've been doing, we're going to be doing a South Carolina style. Now I say style because there's 1,000 different ways to make South Carolina pulled pork. So this is just one style. But we're gonna take a 5-pound pork shoulder, bone in, and we're gonna slow cook it with that nice pulled pork flavor that we desire. So the first thing that I would like to do is I'd like to take this time first to ask you to please consider subscribing to our channel. It does help us out. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and we are actually now on Patreon. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is we have one onion, and we're just gonna take this and we're gonna thinly slice this onion. Now when I say thin, you don't have to be paper thin. We just don't want big chunks of onion, because what we're gonna do is this is actually gonna, you can either take it out when we're done, or you can leave it in if you want onions in your pulled pork. But we're just gonna take it and we're just gonna slice it. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to get some half-decent slices. Obviously, I don't expect, you know, to get perfect slices if you're doing this by hand. Now, if you have a mandolin at home and you want to use it, you can. We're just going to take it and we're just going to slice. Basically, what we're doing, we're going to use this as flavor for our pulled pork. And again, this is one of those recipes where if you put this on high, this will be done in about 6 hours because we want this to fall apart. That's why we call it pulled pork. This will be done in about 6 hours. If you put this on 8 hours on low, or if you have a setting medium, you can go away and leave this for 8-9 hours. You can put this on in the morning, come back home at night, and it'll be done. So that's what we're gonna do. But you're gonna slice this onion up. And we're just gonna take it, and we're just gonna take it and pop it right into our slow cooker. This is, again, one of those recipes, dump and go. You don't have to put this many onions in if you don't want to. This is what's nice about these recipes. You do whatever you want to do. And now what we have here is we have a 5-pound bone-in pork shoulder. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it over, because you see this layer of fat here. We wanna get a lot of this off. Now, you don't have to go crazy because it's not a very thick layer, but we're just gonna see if we can get any of this off. And if you can't, again, it's no big deal. We're just gonna take some of this off if we can. Trim it up the best you can to get some of this off. Basically, what you're looking for is a lot of times on your, especially like beef briskets and some of your pork, you're gonna get fat that's really, it seems really tough and hard fat. That's the fat you wanna get off. That doesn't render down very easily when you're cooking, but this stuff usually will disappear as you cook. You just don't wanna bite into a big chunk of fat when you're eating a pulled pork sandwich. So we're just gonna get some of this off. And we don't have to, like I said, you don't have to go crazy. You're not gonna get it all off. You're gonna be here all day trying to get all that fat off. But you just don't want, you know, you don't want fat that's more than 1/4 inch thick. So, we'll get that little bit off, and that's good enough for us because, like I said, this is all gonna render down and cook into that anyway. And once we do this, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna take this now, and we're gonna put some slices into it. And the reason I'm doing slices, I wanna go fairly deep if I can with a couple of them, because I have garlic that I wanna put into this pork butt. Now I have 5 cloves of garlic. And what I like to do is, even though I'm sticking them into our pork butt, I like to break them open just so it lets some of the flavor out. You don't have to. I'm just gonna take them, I'm gonna stick them right down in our pork shoulder. And we're not trying to go deep. This is going to cook in through this meat anyway, so we don't have to go really deep with it. We just don't want them... Stop it. So we're just going to take these, we're going to stick them down in there. See if we can get one more down in here. And now that we did that, that's all we really have to do with this. And we're just going to take this, we're going to lay this right in here, right on top of our onions. And now we have 1 cup of apple juice. Now you can use water if you don't have apple juice or apple cider, but I'm using apple juice, and you can also use apple cider. So we have 1 cup of this. We have 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper. We have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and we have 2 teaspoons of ground mustard. I'm just going to give this just a really quick mix. Now you see how long this is taking me. You could do this in the morning. You could even do this the night before if you want to make up this. And then in the morning, just take your pork, put it in your crock pot, mix this up and dump it in, and you're done. Just mix that up, and now what we're going to do, we're just going to pour this right over our pork butt. Depending on what you're using, pork butt, pork shoulder. And last but not least, we're going to take about 7 to 8 sprigs of thyme. And we're just going to lay that right in, because like I said, this pork is going to release a lot of juice. And this pork is going to break up, and we're going to be able to mix all this together when this is done. But for now, we just want this to slow cook. And we're going to slow cook this, like I said, we are going to slow cook this for 6 hours on high, depending on your slow cooker. Again, if you want this to be an all day, and you want to come home from work, put it on low or medium, and you can leave this for 8-9 hours. We want this to be able to fall off this bone when we're done. So we'll get this in the crock pot, we'll put it on a high, and we'll see you in about, well, for you it's going to be about 30 seconds. For me it's going to be 6 hours. So we'll see you then. Hello and welcome back. We got about 30 minutes left, maybe 40 minutes left before our slow cooked pork is done. So what we want to do now is, whenever I've had barbecue, whether you go down south, a lot of times they put cornbread with it. So we're going to make cornbread today, and we're going to use a little bit different recipe. We're going to actually use a cream corn in ours, because I know a lot of times, I know when I've had cornbread, a lot of times it's gritty, and I don't really like it when it's like that. So we're going to do a different recipe today, and it's a real simple one. So all we're going to start with is our dry ingredients, and I'm going to have the ingredients for everything that we do today in the description. So we're just going to start off with regular all-purpose flour. We're just going to put that right in our dish. We're going to start with regular white sugar. Now this is regular ground cornmeal. A little bit of salt and baking powder. And we'll just mix this up a little bit just to get it started. Now, if you were going to use a cast iron skillet to do this, you'd want to take about a 10-inch skillet, and you'd want to preheat your oven to about 425 degrees. Because what you're going to want to do is you're going to put that skillet in that oven to get that skillet nice and hot for about 10-15 minutes at that temperature. Because since it's cast iron, it's going to take a long time for that to heat up, and you don't want half your time spent trying to heat that pan up while you already have your batter. But we're not going to use a skillet, we're going to use a regular baking pan, so we don't have to do that. So what you want to do is you're going to preheat your oven to 375 degrees while we're doing this. Once we get this mixed up a little bit, we're going to take our wet ingredients, which is just regular milk. We have a half a cup of melted butter. We have 2 eggs. And all this is at room temperature. And to top that off, we have a 1/2 cup of cream style corn. And just, you know, out of all the ingredients, get yourself a good brand of cream corn, because some of it kind of has a funky taste. So make sure you get yourself a good brand. Now we're just going to give this a little quick mix. Get everything mixed up nice. Just helps break up that gritty flavor taste out of that cornmeal. Now that we have this mixed up, all we're going to do is we're going to add this back into our dry ingredients. And we're just going to make a batter. Now, as you notice, we're not using a mixer for this because we don't really want to. We don't want to mix the heck out of this and turn this into a cake batter. We just want to get this mixed up. So we're just going to mix this up, make sure we get everything off the sides. And this will end up being a little bit thick, and there's our oven as we speak. So our oven is ready to go. Now, if you were using a cast iron skillet, when it comes out, you're going to want to take that and you're going to put about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more, of butter in that skillet. And you want to coat the bottom of that skillet. But since we're not using that, we're going to use just a regular cake pan. But we're just going to take a regular spray and we're going to spray it, because I've noticed even non-stick pans sometimes have a tendency to stick. So once we get this all nice and mixed up, we'll get everything out of our way. We're just going to bring our pan over. And like I said, all I'm going to do is, I found out that the Baker's Joy, believe it or not, and I'm not recommending any same brand, but this stuff really works nice. And all I'm going to do is just coat this whole bottom. And when I say coat, don't be afraid to use it. This has a sweet, almost like a sweet flavor to it. So you can use it, you can put butter, you can flour, you can use any spray you want. So once we get that sprayed, we're just going to take our batter now, and we're just going to pour this right in. We just get this all nice and in here. And then, like I said, we're just going to even it out, and we're going to bake this for about 25 to 30 minutes. And when you stick a toothpick in the center, it's going to come out clean. So we're just going to roll this around a little bit to get it nice and even. And we're going to get this in the oven, and in about 20 minutes, this is going to be done, and our pulled pork is going to be done. So I'll see you in 20 minutes. Welcome back. Our cornbread is done, our pork is done, and now all we're going to do is, this is where you have a couple of choices that you can make. We're going to take this lid off. Now, you can either pull this pork out and shred it and then put it back in, or you can pull the pork out, shred it, leave it out, and then add as much juice that's in this pot to your pork that you want to do. If you want it a little bit drier because you want to add barbecue sauce, or you want to eat it the way it is with the sauce that's in here, you can add as much or as little as you want. Because we also want to remove, don't forget, we have thyme stems in here, and we have a couple cloves of garlic that we want to pull out of this. So you have many choices that you can do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, I'm going to shred it. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to try to carefully pull this out, because it's probably going to fall apart on us, and we just want to be careful. Because you see the bone came right out. So So we just lay that right here. That's why I said you got to be careful now because it's going to fall apart. But that's what we want. And we just got to be careful because it is going to want to fall apart. So just be careful of splashing. This way too, we can also make sure that we get any fat that's left over, we can pull it off. Because we don't want that floating around and we don't want it in our pulled pork. So now what we have left is the broth that's left with the onions. And like I said, we're gonna make sure that we get the stems of the thyme out of there. And it's not gonna take much to shred this pork. But this is what I was saying. We want to make sure we get all this out of here before we shred this stuff up. But as you can see, it doesn't take much. This is just going to fall right apart. So we'll get all this shredded up and we'll separate and we'll make sure that we take our stuff out. But as you can see, it's just going to come right apart. And you see how moist it is. That's why I said some of you might not want all that broth in there. You might want to eat it just the way it is. You might want to add something to it. Or like I said, you can actually take what we have here in our crock pot and add it to this if you don't want to put too much broth in it. So we'll get this shredded up and we'll just make sure that we pull all whatever fat that might be in here that we don't want in here, and we'll make sure we find our thyme stems. And once we have it all shredded up like this, like I said, you can leave it like this if you want people to be able to put their own barbecue sauce on it. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the juice that we had and I'm just going to ladle it out. And I'm just going to ladle it right over, because I like the barbecue pulled pork to be moist, nice and moist, but I don't want it so wet that you go to bite into it and it's running down your sleeve. And there's always going to be some of this left that people can do whatever they want. You can always put that, like I said, you can strain that out if you want. You can put that in a bowl. People could come up, put as much or as little as they want. You could put it and have a bowl next to it with barbecue sauce in it, whatever you want to do. But as you can see, this is already nice and moist, and you don't want to add too much to it. So now what we're going to do is now we'll plate everything up, and we'll show you how our cornbread came out. And we'll get everything plated up for you. All right, as you can see, our cornbread came out nice and moist. It's not dry, just in case. It's still a little hot. It's not gritty, and that's what I like. I don't like that real gritty cornbread taste. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take some of this, our nice pulled pork. And like I said, this pork is really, really moist. You can always add something to it if you want. You can, the taste of this, you can smell it. You ever go by somebody's house and you're walking by and go, man, they're cooking something good. Well, I guarantee you, people are gonna say that about you when you're cooking this. But we're just gonna take that, we're gonna pile it up. Now again, you could use the onions that we did. You can use them. You can put a little barbecue sauce on this if you prefer that. You can eat it just the way it is. Believe me, you are going to enjoy this. As much as I like making it and my family loves eating it, you're gonna love it. And I'm telling you, it's probably one of the best things that you're gonna have. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll like and share with your friends. And by all means, please subscribe to the channel. It does help us out very much. So just so everybody knows, I'm not gonna let this go without tasting this. I'm gonna tell you right now, this will get you in trouble because I could easily eat 2 or 3 of these. So until next week, I hope you have a great day.